Welcome to the Arbitrage Trade and Arbitrage Band Trading System. I am Royce Wells. I am the inventor and the founder of Arbitrage Band and Arbitrage Trading System. Today I'm going to do a brief overview of the system, and then we're going to allow for a Q&A session. And then after that, if you guys still have any questions or need to schedule any one-on-one time, please let me know. From the top, I'm going to start here and clear off our screen and get everything very, very simple. So I'm going to remove all of the indicators and start from the top and show you guys what we have here. All right, a couple more to go away. And we're going to start off with the band because that's where everyone typically starts off at. This is a brand new version of Arbitrage Band. You will see that there are additional things. So if you have a version of the band and you don't see it or it doesn't look exactly like mine, that's just because I'm constantly developing and constantly changing the system to make it easier to see and navigate. So the premise of the system is the black line must stay within our brown area. So let me turn off everything except all of that. You can turn off the exits. All right, so the brown line, the brown band is our universe, and the black line is bound within that universe at all times. That being the case, anytime we see the black line at the very bottom of this band, it is considered oversold, and we saw all of this going down, and anytime we see it all this up motion, anytime we see the black line at the top of the band, it is considered overbought, so we're expecting it to turn around and go down. Okay, so with that being said, that allows us to figure out when a stock is overbought and oversold. Next, I'm going to turn on exits. Exits allow us to have visual cues for when we are either above or below that black line. What actually triggers our in or out in the system is what we call our compass. The compass is the heart of the system, and the compass is this blue line that I'm going to turn on here. So anytime we see the blue line underneath the black line, we should be in a sell trend. Anytime we see this blue line above this black line, we should be in an uptrend. That black line, if you guys have any trading experience, basically it maintains our support and resistance line. So crossing under or over that line is a very, very big deal. So our compass line crossing under it, you're in a sell. It crossing over it, you're in a buy. So occasionally it crosses over and under, just to know, or just to let you know, if you get an alert in the system, the weakest part of, or the most vulnerable part of the trade is when it initially crosses that line, because it can cross back over or cross back under. In the system, basically, I consider the bands to be like radio stations or like frequencies. So we're using the arbitrage band, which is the smallest band in the system, but there are other bands. So from our smallest all the way to a band that we haven't even talked about yet, which is called our infinity band, which basically constitutes close to 30 years worth of trading if you're on a daily time frame. For this exercise, I'm going to show you how I actually found all of these bands. I'm going to switch to the Apocalypse Band, and the Apocalypse Band, I'm going to go to the S&P 500, and we're going to look at SPY. SPY is basically, it's a conglomeration of the 500 biggest companies traded in the world within the US stock market. And within this system, we were able to detect, so I'm going to zoom all the way out, and I'm on a daily scale. We're going to look at, basically, we can visually see the 2008 crash in our system with that red triangle told us that a down was coming. Had you taken profit, it was at 141, you would have saved yourself all the grief of getting all the way down to $68 a share, which means you would have actually saved yourself from losing 50% of your money, and then all you had to do was wait to get back in at the conservative entry at roughly 107, and then you were able to ride again. I'm going to also give out best practices while I'm explaining this. When I'm playing the system, because it is statistics and probability, I typically play from my conservative entry all the way to the edge of the band, about 88% of the trade, because it's 2 standard deviations. From the bottom to the top, it's 2 standard deviations. That in a bell curve, that's 88% of the trade or profit. I don't need 100%. Occasionally, you can get more. But if I'm in a trade and I was able to ride it all the way from the bottom, I want to basically get out and maybe it'll pull back, which it did, and I may have another opportunity to ride again. But all I'm literally trying to get is 2 standard deviations. So whether that's from here, from the bottom to the top, or I'm going to now turn on our standard deviations to show you what I mean. Basically, any 2 spans of time. So if I'm riding from here, this is 1 standard deviation, 2 standard deviations, just to get to here, that's 88% of the motion I can expect. So I'm expecting the pullback to come somewhere near there. Once I'm over that line, I get another 2. Once I'm over again, I could possibly get the last 2. And then we just play it over and over and over again. If you've never used this system before, I'm now going to turn off some of this to make what I call easy mode. Easy mode is, if you don't understand the band, don't worry about it. You still can trade and still make this a very profitable experience for you. So I'm going to now turn on Atlas. Atlas also has the ability to tune to the frequencies that I told you guys about, but it also has the ability to go to even smaller frequencies if you're wanting to scalp or day trade or swing trade. How I use it, so if I'm going to actually turn on the band one more time to show you how best practices to use this second indicator. Atlas is basically, it's taking all of the things that I was trying to put into the band and taking away the noise, so that way you can actually focus on what you want to focus on without having to all this additional. So now I'm going to put it into best practices. So if I am using the Apocalypse band, which is this biggest band that we have here, I will always set my Atlas to be 1 above that, so I have foreshadowing for when the trend is in. I see some people join. I'm going to also mute all you guys, so that way we don't get background noise in this recording. Okay, so once again, if I'm in this trade and I turned on Atlas, Atlas literally is green when you're supposed to be in the trade, and it turns red when you're not supposed to be in it. Once it turns back green, you get back in it, right? So this is at a daily scale. So all of 2019, if you were playing S&P 500, if you got in somewhere near 270, you would have ridden and you'd still be in this 325. So that means over the course of a year, you've had over, actually, what I said, 270. So yeah, you've made almost $80 per share. You made over a 33% return if you just bought and held this one stock on the daily time frame. Atlas also has these little things called, I like to call roadmaps. It shows higher highs and it shows lower lows. Once again, I separated this from the bands because the bands started to get crowded. You had to turn all this on and off. So there are several settings that you can turn on and off. So the biggest question that I usually get when playing the system is, okay, I have a room, right? And in my room, I wasn't a part of the system when this particular alert went off. So I want to know, can I get into a trade if I'm not already in the trade? I'm going to turn off the band now, since we're just using Atlas and we're just talking about Atlas. And I'm going to actually turn down the sensitivity of the background so we can actually see what I'm trying to show you guys. By default, it's much paler, but I made it very robust red and green so you can see. If you look closely, there are these little LLs. So it means if you're not in a trade and you weren't a part of arbitrage when it first ticked off, or when this alert came in, you have basically jump back in points. All right. So these jump back in points are signified by LL, and anytime you see an LL, if you're not in the trade, you can actually jump back in and start bandwagoning to be able to catch more of the trade. Anytime you feel like you need a rest stop, that's what these HHs are. It's saying, I'm detecting a high, it's going to pull back, so you might want to take profit. You can always get back in, but this is a rest stop. This is a rest stop. This is a rest stop. And if you want to get back in, just find a new LL and jump back in. This allows you to gradually take profit as you're playing the system. The arbitrage band system literally works on anything. It works on cryptocurrency, it works on mutual funds, it works on US stocks, it works on all of the major 35 exchanges. If TradingView has it and you want to view it, you can do that and it will show you the trends. Inside the system, we also have something called the windows of opportunity. I'm going to bring up arbitragetrade.com. And on the outside, even if you're not signed up for arbitrage, you can actually get to our window of opportunity to see basically how long, and we call it windows of opportunity because it basically tells you how long we're expecting the trade to be valid before it could possibly turn around on you, which means you have windows of opportunity to get in from where you got the alert to basically where it's going to give you the second alert to tell you that the trend is over. So if you're saying, okay, Royce, I'm playing your system and I want to take profit, maybe trade twice a month, or maybe I'm a financial advisor and I can only trade once every 30 days. So if that was the case, you would use the daily time frame and you would expect to be in the trade anywhere from 1 to 3 months. A good example of this is cryptocurrency. We were playing Bitcoin, and I have it set on the advanced band, which is a bigger band. Let me dial it back so that way it fits within our window of opportunity here. So on the window of opportunity, that's a 1 to 3 month trade. So I'm going to adjust Atlas back down to our arbitrage band. So I'm going to set the Atlas to RSI, and I'm going to turn back on our arbitrage band so we can see this. So quite literally, we got the buy signal on Bitcoin when it was sitting at 7,200, and we've already had one rest stop where it made it up at that high, was sitting at 8,400. So nice $1,200 run, and all you had to do was be there. It even tripped a lower low, letting you know if you were just playing the sub trends, you could have gotten in one day prior to it tripping the buy signal to actually get you into the trade. And if you're trying to ride from the top, once again, wait for a new lower low if you're not already in the trade to decide to get in the trade and then ride it to the next higher high. But all of this is literally just a window of opportunity. So it can be up to a month, but it can also be less, depending on how you want to trade the system. I personally never try to tell you how to trade the system. I let you decide if you want to get in or get out or ride for a longer haul. We have seen this before. So last year, let me actually do a little bit more touring and then I'll get to that actually. So we have the bands, we have the Atlas, we have our arbitrage band. The next indicator, if you're at the novice level, the next indicator that you have access to is our level indicator. As of Christmas of this year, everyone has access to Level Pro, even at the novice level, the $100 level. What the level does is it basically shows you when the band itself has a more positive or negative trend. So for example, once again, best practices, whatever indicator I'm using with the band, it's always set one lower than the band. So if I'm using the arbitrage band, again, I'd be setting this guy to RSI. So basically, it's letting me know what that black line is doing. So if that black line is above, that allows me to know that the trend is working in my favor. And if it goes below, then that lets me know that the actual line has a negative slope and we're underneath. So from the moment it's underneath, I would not want to be in here until I see it over and you see a corresponding lower low to a higher high to let you know, okay, that was a small trend, but it did tell you every step along the way what was going on with the trend. Because this is level pro, you can also turn on the other smaller time frames if you're just wanting to see what's going on with the smaller trend. So I like confirmations more than anything in the world. So if I'm playing this system, and if I was playing this trend, for example, if I did not get off at this higher high and I'm still watching, the first time any of the indicators turn red or basically say it's in a sell, I leave. I'm very conservative, so I don't like to lose money. I don't want you guys to lose money. So at the exact same time, so if I had this on, that's on my RSI line went under, I'm leaving. If I saw that Atlas went red, I'm leaving. It's literally just that simple. For real estate's sake, I did make it in version 6 of the bands. I did allow you guys to turn off those standard deviations so you can be closer into the trend. And if you're watching the red and green, you can even turn on the band so it's hollow. So you can literally just watch Atlas do what it's going to do, and you can watch the black line move in the band if you're actually watching it happen as it's happening. Pardon me. All right. The next indicator I'm going to show you is our RSI indicator. It's like a traditional RSI, except that because we are using this, and this is considered to be like radio frequencies, you can adjust it. So it's not adjusted to, I think, traditional RSI is a triangulated moving average based around 14. Ours are not. Ours are based on our compass line. The compass line literally indicates and dictates everything that we do in this system. So since it's set to the compass, anytime we see it in the up, this is the absolute earliest an uptrend is starting, and you can actually see it and play it here. Likewise, here, first time you see it up above, we should be going into a buy. You see it go under. This is the earliest warning system that lets you know that the trend won't sustain and it's going to go back down. So you can actually catch it that way. And this is all available to you at the $100 level. So we actually want you to be successful so that way you actually can get the other benefits of being in the system. If you are in the system and you do have access to all the stuff that's in the system, so I'm going to log in and show you what else we have. We have daily podcasts, which we give picks of the day, free picks. So you don't even have to be logged in if you're just starting and you're playing the U.S. stock market. They're handpicked every day, and we watch them go up and down to allow us to have the absolute best entry and play as many things as possible to diversify our portfolios as much as possible to make the absolute maximum amount for the year. The average arbitrage user, we're up to about 8,300 members now. The average arbitrage member over the course of a year makes about a 60% return on their portfolio if they follow all the alerts. Okay, so now we're going to go inside. I'm sorry, one thing more while we're outside. So even if you're not a member and you want to further educate yourself on the bands, we do bring our educational modules for Arbitrage Bands 101 outside along with Windows of Opportunity, so that way you can get a good idea of what the system is like and how to trade and how you can use it to make money. So now I'm going to go inside the system. And inside the system, we have dashboards that basically gives you a daily forecast of all the stocks that we're watching, mutual funds and everything, of if they're more bullish or more bearish, right? And when we have watch lists, so if you're a short-term trader on the daily time frame, whether it's a buy, or if you're a long-term trader, this is FNJN. On a long-term scale, it's not looking good, so it means it's starting to top. So it means you may be able to do a quick buy, but over a longer haul, it could be a sell. What's really awesome about this system is I'm going to start on the Forex side first, and then I'm going to go back to the stock side. On the Forex side, there are indicator filters that we have to help you decide what time frame that you want to trade on. Since we are just getting into Forex, we're trying to expand it as quickly as possible to make this as useful as possible for you guys. Even so much, there is a brand new windows of opportunity where we're breaking it down to the minute, 5 minute, 15 minute, 30 minute, 1 hour, and 2 hour time frame to let you know basically how long you're expected to be in the trade based on the filter that you use. Because this is a very much so like tuning into a radio station, I'm going to show you an example of how we use this on the daily time frame. So using the daily time frame, we have our arbitrage band, which is the smallest band, and our apocalypse band, which is the largest band. So it's literally from smallest to largest, and I like to equate it to a wrestling match per se. If the entire system is the apocalypse band, and basically the wrestler is the arbitrage band moving its way through there. So if we have these upper danger zones and lower danger zones, which means they're overbought or oversold. By putting that line in the band, let me turn off Atlas to show you what I mean. By putting that line in the band, we're able to triangulate where the stock is. So basically, if it's overbought or oversold, we know, so we can literally go back to our indicator filter and say, okay, show me everywhere that black line, yes, that black line is in that lower danger zone, and yes, that black line is in that lower danger zone on the apocalypse band. So on a daily scale, you didn't find any place that is the case. But if, say, for example, I move down to the 15-minute chart, which is our default setting, by the way, and I type in yes, and yes, oh, we don't have any there. Let's try just right at this point. These are all smaller trends. So if I'm using that and I'm using the new windows of opportunity, this is going to be a 3 to 9 hour trade. So I'm trying to swing trade whatever this trade is. So how this works is, okay, I'm using the arbitrage band on the 15-minute chart. I typed in the word yes. It's saying that there are 11 foreign exchange pairs that are literally almost ready to buy. So let's go look at them. So I'm going to pick on a random pair, EUR, PLN, type it in here, and I'm going to go to the 15-minute chart, so that way we're basically dialing in directly where we are. Notice we're seeing that guy sitting at the very bottom of that band. If I turn on my entry, I don't think show exits are showing, so it hasn't indicated a buy yet. If I turn back on Atlas, have we gone green yet? Yes, we've already turned green. RSI is almost there. And basically, literally, we're waiting, and we can find it. These charts update every 15 minutes if you're on the 15-minute chart. It updates every 30 minutes if you're on the 30. So forth. That means every minute or 15-minute, you get a brand new candle on these time frames. So literally, as it changes, you get new picks. So constantly use these filters to help you find where your trades are and trade accordingly using these windows of opportunity to make your profit. So it can be as quickly as 3 hours on a 15-minute chart or as long as 9 hours on a 15-minute chart if you're playing this to get from the bottom, these time estimates that we're using here, that's how long we're expecting it's going to take that black line to get from the bottom of the band to the very top of the band for you. Okay. So literally, if you want to play exotics or not, it's there for you. Now we're going to switch to the stock side of the house. On the stock side of the house, we don't have as many choices, but we have a few more that we may not know about. So on the, we have what we call a winner's report. The winner's report lets us call what we call our disciplines. So basically, if we've gone out of bounds, for example, of the arbitrage band, and it's a stock that's under $5, we're literally showing you on the daily time frame that all of these guys have done that, and you literally can say if you want to trade options, you can trade options on these guys, or you can just buy the stock and say, okay, it's ran out of probability, so it's more than likely going to go the other direction. So that's using our winner's report. And basically we have price ranges and say, okay, the RSI is in the lower danger zone. We have all different types of disciplines to help you, once you know the nomenclature of the system, help you trade the system and be successful with it. They always tell you buy low and sell high, but they never tell you where low is. That's where our filter by price comes into play here. So say, for example, I'm trading with $5,000, and typically my rule of thumb, if I'm playing with $5,000, I will not spend more than $500 on any one trade. So for example, that means I'm going to be looking for stocks between the price of $2.50 all the way up to $5, so that way I can use a multiplier. And what I mean by multiplier means I can buy up to 100 shares, or if it's at 250, up to 200 shares, so that every time the stock moves a penny, I will make either $1 or $2 for every penny that it moves in my favor. So doing that, I have this list, and it looks like NOVN has lost almost 79% of its value. They tell you buy low. Well, if he's sitting at the very bottom, he's down 79%. I would then go back to my trading view and say, okay, let's see, first off, is that true? And we're going to go back to the daily scale because these measure. So you were not there for the ugly fall from $3. This guy's sitting at 75 cents, which means if I'm using, all right, let's break out a calculator, right? And $5. Oh, that's not it. Right, type in $5, or yeah, I'll do that. Divided by 75. I can buy 600. That didn't work out right. Okay, so that means, yeah, that works. So that means it goes in 6 times. So if I'm trying to buy, I can buy 6 times as many shares. So that means I can basically roughly buy 600 shares of this guy up and use my $500. So that means every time it moves a penny, I'm going to make $6.66. So for example, if this guy just goes back to the edge of the band, so that's at $1.41. If I bought it at 70 something cents, it gets to $1 just to the edge of the band, because once again we know that our lines can't leave the band. I've almost doubled my money, and it may bounce or may not, but this is an aggressive play. But I have the opportunity to turn $500 into $1,000 on a single play that I would only have to hold for roughly 3 months. So I'll let that do it, and then I have the opportunity to do that 9 other times with 9 other stocks to get my return on investment. That's actually how we get such great returns, because we find the ones that have been horribly maimed and then ride them up in the opposite direction. So same thing in GJ, or JG rather. He's sitting, he's on the edge of the band, so we're waiting for him to get above, and he is sitting currently, to better see. So he's currently sitting at 238. If I'm just trying to get 2 deviations, That's $4. It's a 3-month trade. So my $2.49 becomes $4. Once again, 70, 80, 90% return, and I'm just sitting there waiting. And if I entered aggressively, then I'm already in. I may have already even taken profit once, and I may be getting ready for my second ride, right? The next thing I want to show you guys is on the stock side as well, our monthly almanac. So we don't try to tell you what to play. You can actually pick by month, like I showed you by price. Pardon me. We can pick by month. So this is all the biggest winners and losers in the system for the month of January so far. Looks like gold nuggets have lost 16% of their value, and that's just the ETFs. So if you only want to play ETFs, you can stay where you're comfortable and just play ETFs. If you want to play Forex pairs, you can also see which ones have lost the most or gained the most over the course of the month, and you can monitor that as you go throughout the system throughout the month. It is my recommendation, if you're going to be trading this system, to make sure you get the absolute best out of the system, that you start with at least $2,000. And why do I say $2,000? Because if you're paying me $100 and I'm saying that you're going to make at least 12% per month in the system, I want to make sure that you are making more than you're paying me. So for that to be possible, $2,000 lets you pay me $100 and you still walk away with $150 or so dollars. So that's why I picked that number. So now I'm going to go to the intraday filter, and this is the intraday filter for stocks, and there actually, it does have some of the Forex pairs in here. So let's see if we can find anyone that's ready to play. So if I'm looking to play something for tomorrow, for example, and I type yes for the Apocalypse band, being the biggest band, and yes for the Arbitrage band, it actually does have some results. So there are 16 stocks that are potentially buys for tomorrow. I once again go to Trading View to go see if it's ready. So I'm going to look at ADT first. And we see that that's on the daily. So he has been falling, and he has been falling a long time. Let's go to the 15-minute chart to see if he will bounce. So I'm going to turn on a second arbitrage band to show you what this is saying. And once again, I'm equating to this like a wrestling match ring. And so I'm going to turn on the smallest band, and I'm going to turn on my largest band. And we're seeing, and if everything I told you is true, the black line can't leave outside of our arbitrage band. So I'm going to show the background for our arbitrage band. And so we're seeing it's sitting at the bottom here, and we're seeing it sitting at the bottom there. So if both of those are true, we're expecting that that pink line can't make it out of here. He's sitting at 631. So our very first price target would be literally the edge of that band, which is 751. Because this guy can't leave and that guy can't leave, and literally the smaller band is always drawn towards the center of the biggest band. So it's like a solar system too. So I would not just buy this guy. I would add him to my watch list, since all the rooms by default are set to the 15-minute chart. So I'm going to go to my room example. Room example, and I would literally say, okay, I'm going to add watch : ADT, and if the bot is on, I turned it on before we started this, now the bot is literally watching that stock for me. So on the 15-minute chart, if it triggers the buy, which I'm waiting for it to do on the arbitrage band or the apocalypse band, that's when I would buy the stock. Entering before that is considered aggressive. You can, and if you're using other indicators besides the arbitrage band system, or you're using another combination of the system. So for example, if you're using RSI and you know that once I re-enter this red area, I can technically buy, that is a true statement. It's an aggressive entry, but you can do that. Hit him entering right back there, you can get the absolute best, lowest price and ride it up to that point within the system. So all of these guys, I wouldn't just buy them. I would add them to my watch list. So yes, there are about 10 to 16 of them. If you want them all on one page, you can adjust that. So now all of the ones that you want to play, you literally just go add watch, add to your room, and then when it tells you to enter, you enter, and when it tells you to leave, you leave. So you did all your homework ahead of time. You type your yes, your yes. If you have a particular price range, you can either sort by price range. When I created this filter, I had it set up specifically for swing trading. So all the stocks that show up on this list are between a penny all the way up to $15, as well as I'm including all of the S&P 500. So that may, if you're trying to play bigger, you can play. So for example, if I wanted everything from $16, so there's nothing currently at $16 or higher that's sitting where we sit. But if I just wanted, for example, if I didn't want it stretched out as much as that, I can type everything $16 and above, and notice you see the big guys sitting in here, but none of them are at a perfect entry for a buy. But you can trade a 3 to 9 hour trade, or let's see, 3 to 9 hour trade, or 1 to 3 day trade on the novice band on the 15-minute chart if you're feeling froggy. Like I know, for example, I play FedEx and I play Tesla. I even play AutoZone this way just to get big and small gains. So basically, if I was in AutoZone, I would have left roughly at 12:06 and basically save myself $70, $80 per share. Jump back in when it's time, when all the indicators say it's time, and then ride again. Or if I was in it already, for as long as it was up, I had opportunities to ride in and out. I'm going to turn off that second band to make it less confusing. And once again, set back to my best practices. I like to use the larger band because it's less homework for me. It's less babysitting for me. So I get to ride longer trends, take my profit, and then ride again. So, and these are month-long trades, even on the 15-minute. From if I'm just riding from triangle to triangle. If I don't want the foreshadowing and I just want it to be in, I can literally just turn off the band, turn off the band completely, and now I'm just riding from where it turns green to when it turns back red. And if I didn't take any of the exits or profit points, then that I can play it however I want, right? Okay. So that leaves about 15 minutes for questions. Does anyone have any questions? Please feel free to unmute or type or chat for us to better answer those questions for you guys. Is there any plays from this week that you guys want me to see for those of you guys who are members? Got a couple of chats. They want to look at US 30 and they want to look at gold. All right, let's go to US 30 first. All right. And the Great British Pound versus Australian dollar. Okay, so all right, so we are set at the Apocalypse Man. Let's actually change this guy. Get back up into our default stance. I'm going to turn this guy here and zoom in first to see what we're doing at the micro level, and then we'll go back to the macro level. So the US 30 versus the US dollar went into a sell just using the arbitrage band on the 15-minute chart, roughly at 2 a.m. on the 10th. right? So it's the 12th. So it's been selling off. I am from where it's sitting. I would expect a bounce, but I'm going to turn on my level pro indicator, zoom it all the way in to see what is going on. Because once again, these are interlocking bands, and each center line for each band is bound within the next bigger band. These guys have these smaller bands, which you can't see, are all locked within these larger bands. So basically, the money has to stay within the scalp has to stay within the compass has to stay within RSI has to stay within arbitrage, and so forth and so on. So if I'm trying to detect if it's going to turn around after a fall like this, these smaller bands have to go positive and get above the level before the larger ones can actually get there. So with that being said, we're watching this guy fall, and we're hoping that we get it levels out, and these guys get above the line to say a buy is in progress. Once again, if I'm testing this system, right, all the time frames feed into each other. The larger time frame always trumps the smaller time frame. So if I'm trying to see, okay, yes, we're in a downtrend, but I want to see what's going to happen in the near future. Are we going to get a small bounce? Let's go check the 1 minute chart to see if it's ready for that small bounce. So I'm going to turn on the Apocalypse Band, and on the Apocalypse Band, he has made it to a lower danger zone. These guys aren't back above yet, but I'm expecting a bounce, and I'm expecting on the US 30 USD, I'm expecting it to at least get back to that 28.9 area before it makes a decision on what it's going to be its next move after that. Because this is statistics and probability, it is a waiting game, which means that's why we add it to our watch list to prevent getting burned. You can play the system aggressively, and once again, I'm going to bring up our windows of opportunity to show you what I mean by that. Inside the windows of opportunity, if you scroll down, there are ways to play the system both aggressively, moderate, or conservative. So typically, if I'm playing the system and I'm using the bands, I for a conservative entry, I wait for my compass to cross my RSI line. That means I'm getting my triangle saying go back in. But if it crosses back under, that's also get back out. Right? At the 1 minute chart, you're playing really aggressively, and doing so, yeah, on the arbitrage band, it's a 30-minute to 2-hour trade at the very max. So in this time frame, I would expect the first pre-market, so when futures open or when the FedEx market, Forex market opens in a couple of hours, I'm expecting this guy to initially bounce, but I can't say much past that next 2-hour window. Let me go look at gold. So XAU, USD. He has been going up for quite some time. Also, 1 minute chart, he's running out of probability because basically the bands are measuring how fast. If it slows down, the trend can go on forever. So I'm expecting gold to have a dip. And if I'm playing this aggressively, I'd already be in this trade from where it went this higher high and from where this line re-entered my RSI to try to catch the dip down, hoping that basically, since I know that this pink line can't leave the band, I'm hoping to catch from gold from going from 1562 all the way down to 1558, which if I'm playing Forex, that's 400 or so pips for me, and I'll take it and I'll run. Going to a larger time frame, so we've been under for a bit. So if it does decide to, what I call, go for it, it should find hard resistance at 1562.44 and bounce off, deflect down, and once again continue this down momentum. So I'm expecting a rally at the beginning and then this guy to fall. So I'm expecting gold to fall while the US 30 has its bounce to the upside. So gold should be correcting, and we should see it in the time frames. As we change time frames, he's overbought, so everything is forcing it and pulling it. So this guy should actually come on down. We're in a, so for the longer term traders, you will have to endure the bounce. So that means if it does come down, we would expect it to find resistance at that 1550 area and then continue up on the longer term trade. For people who are playing shorter term, you have roughly of 1 to 3 days to get what you're going to get. But the longer term is saying that more up is coming. But the people who are in, if you were in from here, if you didn't take profit here, you may have to endure it until it gets back to 1550. And it's sitting at 1562. So there is basically a $12 leeway for how much wiggle room you have before getting back in if you're not already in it. And if you are, basically how much you can bear before it goes on and continues with the uptrend. All right, and I think the last one was GBP AUD. Okay. All right, and then we're going to go. I used to have a reverse and pull back, let's say 4-hour time frame. Okay. All right, let me get to GA and GJ, and then I'll answer yours, Jason, okay? All right, so looking at GBP AUD, the money line, which means basically is the trend positive or negative. So far, both of them are underneath. Both of these are negative right now, but they're trying to pull themselves into a buy. Aggressively, and if you've already entered, you should be in a little bit of profit using the hourly time frame. If you're using the 15-minute chart, conservatively, you're already in. So you would have, he went green. Both of these guys went above. The Atlas is green. So if you're playing from using the Atlas, you'd be there. Let me turn this guy off to basically zoom in to show you what I'm seeing. I keep forgetting that you guys may not be accustomed to having as much stuff on as I do. So if you were using the conservative entry on the Atlas, he went green, and you have confirmation with the level. So that means the smaller bands are all pointing up. You're there. If you're using the arbitrage band, you're still waiting for your green triangle to get you there. And basically from this 189 area, you're looking for that 190 and 15.8 to get your entry to your exit on that guy, which is about, I don't know, 20 or so pips, which 20 pips is 20 pips. All right, let's look at GBP Jpy. Actually, let me turn back on the Apocalypse band real quick to see what I'm expecting. So once again, because of where he's sitting, to forecast out where I think he's going, I think he's going to go up. He's going to go up and test this line. The black line is going to wind up back at the top of the arbitrage band, and then we're going to fall back down. But this is going to take, once again, using our windows of opportunity, a 3 to 9 hour on the 15 minutes. So it means basically the better part of this afternoon and evening, I'm expecting this guy to try to rally and then get up there, and then towards around midnight or so, fall back down while no one's suspecting it or expecting it. Okay. All right, next question. All right, Jason, you're actually no, one more. Didn't you, Jason? I'm sorry, man. GBP Jpy. Looking at this guy, he still has room to go up. He has been in an uptrend since the 8th, and basically he's just bouncing and undulating. So he currently is going down, but that guy is running out of room to basically run out of room within the arbitrage band, and we're expecting him to turn. Looking at level, the smaller bands are above, so he is trying to level out and pull himself out of this nosedive, and we'll see what happens there. Longer term, for like 9 or so hours, we're expecting him to pull himself up and make himself all the way up to about that 143.32 area. Once again, I always estimate for the very top of the band because typically I've been riding him, if I have been in him, since he was at near the bottom somewhere over here. If I've taken my profit and done what I was supposed to, everything keeps bouncing and undulating as this line gradually makes himself to the top of the band. Looking at further out on GJ, because I do like to play GJ a lot, over the past 10 or so days, he's had real hard trouble getting above. Let me turn off this guy real quick, and I even turn off Atlas to illustrate what I mean. He's the candles have had trouble getting over the pink line. Yep, one too many. Has had trouble getting over that pink line, so it may actually try to make a run for it if it can, but right now it's very much so sideways. At my initial look, both of these guys, longer term, GJ is drifting. He's drifting down. He's negative. He's negative. He's in negative territory. If he's not able to do it, he should bounce off of here again and go down. So that backs up what's going on over here. He may come as low as 242.66.9 because once again, that's your primary support if you're using this band. So if you're watching this guy and you are not in him, the best possible place to buy him, if you're not in him already, is at this lower price point at 142.67.1. Let's see now. Let me get to you, Jason. All right. How do you stay ahead of the reverse and pullbacks that say in the 4-hour time frame? Like, how do you alert yourself in reverse and pullback? All right. Good question. So, all right, I'm going to use this guy for example. We're going to bring up the 4-hour chart. And the 4-hour chart, because I am using the 4-hour chart, that means these are longer trades. My best rule of thumb is if I'm going to be going to a bigger time frame, I use a smaller band to let me monopolize on that. So typically I actually would use Atlas, and I will use those higher highs and higher lows to my advantage. Go to my advanced band. And these higher highs and higher lows help me traverse those pullbacks and dips. So I'm at a 4-hour time frame. I'd be riding these lower lows to higher highs and waiting for new lower lows to higher highs to get me there. Once again, Atlas has things on and the ability to alert on all of these guys. So if I am really wanting to be right there, then, or as I say, be here now, I can literally turn on my higher lows and lower highs to let me navigate each one of these trends, to ride each dip and ride each wave and be able to take profit along the way. So that way I'm not always giving back money if I don't want to. So typically this is another strategy I also do. I also have what I call a core position. So say, for example, I'm in and I have a lot size of 0.02, right? And I may have another lot size that may be 0.01. The 0.01 I use as my core position, and the 0.02 I use to ride the waves. And what that allows me to do, that means all along while I think it's going up, I can ride all of this up and not have to worry about my core position because it's going up as it's supposed to. If the band turns red, that's when I exit my core position. And the one I'm using at the 0.02, I would use that to ride these smaller ups and downs to maximize my profit. So I have a core position that keeps my money flowing for me. Then I have a smaller position with less leverage and a smaller lot size, allowing me to still recoup the entire ride up per se. Does that answer your question, Jason? Okay, perfect. Anyone else have any questions?
Okay, so back to what I asked before. So it's just why it's just basically um, because because of my schedule, I have to enter in on the higher time frames.
Oh,
I can't.
absolutely.
I don't have the time to sit here and watch the thing every, if I miss a move or whatever. I would love to scout, but I just can't
Oh, no,
because
I understand. Just basically control your lot size. If you control your lot size, you can use the bigger bands to make bigger profit. Basically, you're trading time for money. If you have the time to be in front of the chart, you can use larger lot size so that way you can take advantage of the smaller moves. If you
okay,
can't be in front of it, just use smaller lot size and you know that you're going to be riding for a longer haul.
okay,
So same thing, right? GJ, I've actually played this several times, and the GBP Jpy pairs. I originally wrote it from 130 on the 15-minute chart, and then it got up here, and then I wrote it again to 147. Um, but okay, so let me adjust the bands because once again, since I'm on the daily, at the very least, I would be using the arbitrage band, not the apocalypse band, to try to figure out where I'm trading, right? So I say I got in at 130, you say, okay, prove it. There it is. There's my entry at 130 using the arbitrage band. And I had time to basically, this was almost a 2-week run from where I entered here to where I took profit here. And then I rode sells all the way down and took profit along the way. So as it's going down, I take profit at a lower high, take profit at a lower high, expecting it to pull up a little bit, right?
okay. So you would just ride it from point to point.
Yeah.
Uh, is that within a 4 hour period or?
This is a daily,
Oh,
so
okay,
but I can go back to the 4 hour. It the same
okay,
same same thing applies, right? So if I'm on the 4 hour, I would probably switch my band to be a little bit bigger. Typically, I'm using the arbitrage band on the daily or the weekly, and I'm
okay.
just basically letting cruise control, and I'm not trying to get the micro trends, right?
Right.
So I'm going to actually go to intermediate just to have somewhere in the middle here. And I'm going to set my atlas, because I'm using the intermediate band, I'm going to set it equal to the novice. So because it's the one right above it, right?
Right.
So with that being said, I would have been able to ride from maybe the September the 4th all the way to September 24th. So that was a 20-day ride without having to worry about, and like I said, as soon as I see it turn red for any reason, I'm out, right? So
Mm-hmm.
if the RSI turned red or the band turned red, anybody go red, I'm out. Let me also adjust my level pro, since I'm using the intermediate, change that guy to novice to let me know it's like, okay, if I'm losing, if he goes under, he went under a little bit late over here. I could even adjust it to have maybe all these guys on, just to say, okay, anytime anybody dips under and look like RSI went under first, because he's more sensitive to the trend, that makes sense. Um, as soon as he goes under or he goes red or he goes red, or any of these guys say, I shouldn't be in this trade, take my money. But that was a nice 20-day ride, and that was a nice 20-day ride from 127, 128 all the way to 134. And yes, you could have gotten 135 and 136, which could have been 1,000 more pips, but you're trading that for not having to watch it. You're trading that you still made from that 128 to 134, you still made over 6,000 pips. I don't think you'd be complaining in
No.
that window,
No.
right? All right. This is going to be uploaded. It basically takes about 15 minutes after we're done for it to save, and for Facebook to cache it and then allow you guys to see it. So about 15 minutes. Okay. All right.
So the intermediate, RSI, and the novice, I think that's what you clicked on. That's what you click on for the daily, or to see in between those, or
So whichever band I'm using. So for in this example, I'm using the intermediate band.
Right.
I would always set my level to be anything near this intermediate band so I can actually see what's going on. The most sensitive is setting it to RSI, so 3 away from where I am, right? To basically say, I really want to be paranoid. I really want to get the absolute best exit. I put it at least up to 3 away from where I'm sitting.
Oh, so the RSI is the most sensitive from the exit.
From the intermediate, yeah. So I mean, basically,
Okay.
to not trip me out before, like for example, I can set it lower, but it may get me out way sooner at more noise.
Right. That's
Set
what
it
I've having a
there.
problem with because I was just I'm doing pretty good on some trades, but the other ones I didn't know the rule of this right here, the RSI. Okay. Okay.
Yep. So if I'm set to intermediate, basically 3 away will allow me to be at the most sensitive without taking in too much noise to get me out of the trade.
Mm-hmm.
And this is set on the 4-hour with the intermediate band.
Okay.
Right? Okay. All right, we got a few more questions. All right. So if I'm entering on the 1-hour and monitoring my trade on the 4-hour, the bands and Atlas should, what bands and Atlas should I be using? Right now I'm set on arbitrage and RSI. So you're trying to play the 4-hour with the arbitrage band. Let me first get your settings to that. So you're trying to get the absolute best out of the system, and I don't blame you. So you're using the 4-hour, but you're trying to time your entry with the, I'm sorry, I lost half of the question. All right. So I'm entering on the 1-hour and monitoring my trade on the 4-hour. So, okay. So you're using the 1-hour to get in the trade, but then you're monitoring to see if it's going to be going on the 4-hour. So I'm going to tell you a cool trick. Basically, it's almost 4 times the distance, right? So if I'm going to be using this guy and I'm set to, say, for example, I'm set to the arbitrage band, I'm on the hourly trade, right? If I'm trying to figure out what's going to be going on with the 4-hour trade and I'm set at the arbitrage band, I would probably set my Atlas to advance. So advance or even apocalypse. So that way I can always keep my eye on the bigger trend. So I would know that the 4-hour trade, basically, it went red here. And if you entered on here 4 down, you can basically keep it there, right? But notice this allows me to see what the longer term trend is doing while I'm still trading the smaller trend, right? So if I see that the smaller trend is dipping back up, if for example, I'm trying to catch a buy on the 4-hour, the first time it'll appear would be where it's completely red and everything is still showing up red, but the smaller time frame would go green for me, and then we eventually get green over here. Something else that is in Atlas that you guys may not be using is you can actually show your candle support on your bands within Atlas without messing up your other settings. So what I'm saying is, let me adjust it. So I'm going to adjust this guy back to RSI so we maintain best practices, right? But then I'm going to turn on Atlas and say, okay, I want to show multi-time frame. If I'm showing multi-time frame, I say, okay, I want to set that to my 4-hour chart because I want to see where my support for my candles are on my 4-hour chart. And now it should show me each, I guess I can change how it's showing. Let me see. Right now I have it set there. I have that. Huh. Okay, I will add that as a feature because right now it's only a dotted line and I don't allow you to change what the it's just a dotted line. But so for example, on a weekly, if you zoom in or zoom out, I'm zoomed way in so you actually see the dots, but I can see if I'm set to the weekly there, it's saying where my weekly support for each candle that was on the weekly, where the support and resistance were for the candle where it closed and where it may have opened and closed, right? So I can see what range I'm staying within.
You know, I saw that earlier. I just didn't know how to use it. Like you said, it shows up as a dot on the higher time frame.
I'm going to actually
Uh,
change that so it can be aligned, so that way it'll be
right.
a little bit easier to manage.
I really appreciate it because I could kind of tell it was support and resistance, but I could when you change them to the lower frames, but on the higher time frame, it's just a dots. And I was like, wait a minute, that looks like support and resistance. I said, hold up, oh shoot.
Exactly. So that becomes your support and resistance. So, Trey, basically, you can use it to say, okay, this is where the range is, or that's the lowest on that candle on the 4 hour against the 1 hour. So it breaking underneath that will also show you that basically if you're trying to enter a sell for GBP JPY, while it's doing that, anything below these dots that are here is triggering that it's going to break through there, and you should be good for a sell on that time frame. So it looks like GBP JPY may actually be going to sell because it's running out of space. And if it breaks under that support and resistance, then yeah, we're going down.
Got you. Now, what do you suggest for the higher time frame, or when you're entering in on any time frame? What do you suggest that the candle time frame be on the atlas there?
So say for example, if you're on a daily, or where, daily or weekly?
See right there, okay, the 4 hour, for instance, and you go to settings, and then you that says the candle and the time frame next to it. That's my issue. I wanted to know what is the best to keep that on when you're trading.
So typically, I use defaults a lot. So I set it at the weekly, so I know if we've been going up all week, if it breaks under, that means we're no longer going up. You broke your weekly support, which is why I have it set to default as the weekly.
Okay.
So I don't want to be the last one to know that, yeah, that I'm trading the wrong direction.
I could kind of tell that when I was playing around with it, and I just wanted to know because I was going to leave it on the weekly, and I just wanted the confirmation. So
yeah. So like if you're going to turn it on and use it, yeah, you can absolutely just turn it on, show multi-time frame, and it'll show you where your support and resistance are on the weekly time frame. So even if you're at the 15-minute, you see where that support is.
Okay.
Right? Or even on the 1 minute, you see where basically where the ceiling should be if it makes a run for it, or yeah, where it should find its support.
Okay. And you're gonna change that to a line today, right?
Probably. I will say honestly, probably.
Okay. All right.
And then I'll push out a new update. There's actually a couple of changes that are coming to Atlas. A few more alerts. Let me show you guys one more thing, then I'm going to let you guys go because we are running a little bit over than our normal 1 hour. Inside TradingView, if you're using TradingView, you have the ability to set alerts. So you can either click the create alert here, or you can click the set alert here. If you're using the system, and then any of the indicators that you have turned on. So for example, if I'm using Level Pro, I would set it to Level Pro, and any of the bands, if I want to know when it first goes negative or first goes positive, I can literally say, okay, tell me when my RSI line, just got to find it, goes negative. And I always want to set it at once on bar close. Doing that, it'll tell me my RSI has negative momentum, and I just basically say on the 15-minute chart, 15-minute chart for GBP JPY. And then I create the alert, and when I create the alert, anytime it goes negative, I should literally get an alert saying, oh, my RSI went negative, and let me out, right? If I'm going to be less sensitive to the trend, like for example, if I wanted to have it say, okay, I only want to know when the trend absolutely goes negative. So basically, as long as it's positive, let me know the first time, the longest time the trend. So for example, I'm trying to play longer trends and I'm still on the 15-minute chart. Let me know the first time it's above. so I can know I should be getting into this trade for an up play. Right? And any other alerts on any of these guys, they can be adjusted. So for example, if I'm using Atlas, tell me when Atlas relative bottom or relative top is coming, right? Part of Atlas, I'm adding more alerts to this next review. So basically, it'll be able to tell you when it goes green or when it goes red. I'm going to make it when it has higher highs and higher lows. I'm adding a whole bunch of alerts to Atlas on this next push to Atlas that's going to be coming out. I'll do a minor patch for this one, so I'll make like a 2.1 or 2.3. But 3.0 version of the Atlas is going to have a whole lot more alerts built in, so that way you can even say, okay, hey, I just hit the multi. Tell me where my I just broke support on the weekly, hourly, or whatever. So you'll have the ability to tune all of that. Okay.
Okay. Will we automatically get the once it gets to 3.0, will it automatically update, or will we have to go in there and add it?
When you're adding and removing indicators, so typically I will announce to the Slack room and the paid traders that there's a new release out. Also, if you log into Arbitrage from if you're on your Wall Street, anytime we add anything or update anything, we add these announcements. So they're right here to say, hey, these new changes are there, or that new change is there, and we actually click the link to allow you to see what we've changed and why we've changed it, so that way you can do that. If you're not in paid traders, or if you're not in here, also on the Facebook page, anytime we update the indicators, we'll also let you know to do that. To add and remove indicators, so for example, I am beta testing version 7 of Arbitrage Band, which adds another band and adds a couple of new features. But currently, you guys are sitting on version 6.1. So when the new version comes out, version 7, the major release comes out, you'll get the additional information, and you'll just literally, when you see it, you click on here, it'll always say Arbitrage Bands 2.13, and then you just literally remove it right here, go to indicators on the little squiggly guy, click here and add him back, and then all the new features that are with him, he'll say 7.0, and you'll see all the new features once that new release comes out and is available. Okay?
Okay, got it. Thank you.
Okay. Let's see, we have one more chat. What did Margot ask a question? Okay. Why is the price in a bunch of different colors? Okay. So inside of TradingView, if you right click, we actually have names. So like you can actually see where the danger zones are and the edges are. All you have to do is right click, go to labels, and you can actually tell it to tell a name or tell me the value. So if I'm trying to set my price targets, because different people play the system in different ways, we try to let you decide where, if you want to, hey, you know, 2 deviations up, you know what? I want to get out if I'm 2 deviations up, because that's the way Royce plays it. That's the way I want to play it. And that's what that number is, right? So, we're showing what the recent highs are. We're showing basically 3 deviations up if you want to basically try to milk every single thing out of the system. That's what those colors are, and that's what they represent. Okay? Right? And if you want to turn those off, you can just literally turn them off. So also, if you're using the system and your charts are cluttered with too much stuff, personally, I like simple and minimal as possible. I can hit the little arrow next to this to make these guys be hidden. And if when you unhide them, you still are seeing a ton of numbers here and you don't want to see those numbers, you can click on the little ellipsis here, click on more, go to settings, and then go to status line, and you can hide those values so that way they're not cluttering up your chart. So I'm going to turn off those, and I'm going to turn off my additional, once again, minimalist. I like on as little as possible so I can keep my eyes where it should be on the chart if I'm actually sitting and watching. So honestly, this is my typical setup. I usually don't have any of these guys on. I do have my candle colors on. Some people like to have the candle colors off, and more power to you. Some people like, if it's already turning red and green, why do I need the compass and momentum line? You don't if you don't want them, so you can turn those guys off too, right? The only thing that those guys give you, if you don't have on, for example, if you don't have your higher highs and lower lows on, anytime you see the compass line fall beneath the momentum line, so say, for example, I'm riding this mini trend, and I didn't exit when it gave me this higher high or this lower low. The moment I see my blue line go underneath my red line, I'm leaving. So it's all in how zoomed in or zoomed out you want to be, or how much noise you can tolerate on your chart while you're playing, right? And since I already have my red and green, all I'm doing is basically watching my black line and trading accordingly. Okay? And putting everything back in best practices. If I'm using the arbitrage band, always use the guy right next to him, right below, to decide if I should be in the trade or not. So GJ right now has aggressively an N, and the RSI still hasn't turned green. So on the 15-minute chart, you may see a small bounce at market open. No problem. All right. Thank you guys for joining us. You guys have a great afternoon.